Everybody, welcome back to our next Lunch and Learn, and we are here in Don Mills. So the boundaries, as always, the north is York Mills, east to the DVP, west is Leslie, and south is the CP rail lines just north of Eglinton. So the Don Mills area, it was first settled by Europeans in about 1817. The area was far from the town of York, which is now Toronto, but the Don River provided an easy means of transportation, and it was also a source of power for a number of mills along the river. While the city of Toronto steadily expanded, the Don Mills area remained rural until after the Second World War. It was cut off from the city by ravines to the south, east, and west. Only two roads connected the area, York Mills Road and Don Mills Road. In 1950, the area consisted of about 20 farms. Don Mills really developed to be a self-supporting town in the 50s and 60s. At that time, it was located outside of Toronto. Don Mills was built by a private company to have residential, commercial, and industrial sub-districts. It was the first planned community in Toronto and possibly in all of Canada. The homes in Don Mills from the early 1950s and 60s, they combined principles of what they called the Garden City movement. It was designed as a model community between 1952 and about 1965. Land use, architectural design, and building materials, they were carefully regulated. Many aspects of the design have been imitated in suburban developments across Canada, and its planners gave people priority over industry and cars. This combination of emptiness and proximity to the city attracted the attention of industrialist E.P. Taylor. His original plan was to erect a brewery in the area, along with a small community to house the workers. Taylor, he previously built a residential and commercial project, and he named it Wrentham Estates at what's now Bayview and York Mills on the corner, and you can still see the plaza there now. When he saw the profit to be made there, he abandoned the brewery idea and he decided to simply build a new town on 2,000 acres that he purchased. In 1951, Taylor began planning what was first called the Yorktown Community. It was built on farmland centered at the intersection of Don Mills and Lawrence. Development was headed by the Taylor-owned Don Mills Development Company. The design of Don Mills, it was influenced by Ebenezer Howard's Garden City and the principles of two American town planners, Clarence Stein and Henry Wright, who developed the Garden City community in New Jersey. The community was envisioned to be a self-contained community with consistent design principles and modernist style, at least modern at the time. Several names were proposed for the new development. One was Eptown after E.P. Taylor, then Yorktown, but the name Don Mills was finally adopted. The design of the community was based on 5 planning principles, which had not been implemented in Canada before. Number 1, it was called the neighborhood principle. This broke down the community into 4 quadrants, all surrounding the Don Mills Center. Each quadrant had a school, a church, and a park. Number 2 was the separation of pedestrian and car traffic. There were paths all over, giving easy access through parks to the schools, the town center, and roads were designed to slow traffic. They used winding roads, cul-de-sacs, and T-intersections for this. Number 3 was the promotion of modernist architecture and modern aesthetics. The Don Mills Company, they controlled all aspects of architectural design, the colors, the materials, all the buildings in the communities. The builders, they had to use company-approved plans so the project wouldn't turn into, I guess, a typical post-war subdivision of builder homes. The 4th one was the creation of a green belt, which we're standing in right now, and it's absolutely gorgeous here. The neighborhood was linked to a system of neighborhood parks, and it would preserve the beauty of the surrounding ravines. And lastly, number 5 was the integration of industry into the community. They wanted residents to live and work in the same satellite town so that Don Mills wouldn't become a bedroom community where people had to commute to the city. In 2006, the Don Mills Center was demolished to make way for the shops at Don Mills. It opened in April 2009, and it's still the center of the community. It was designed as an open-air shopping center with an urban village theme where shoppers can enjoy year-round events. The area is also home to Edwards Gardens, which we are standing in right now. Rupert Edwards, he bought the land in 1944 and created this magnificent garden where I actually spent many summer Sundays as a kid. He sold the property in Metro Toronto in 1955, and it officially became Edwards Gardens the following year. I mentioned the many paths in the community, and there's another path inside Edwards Gardens that's part of a paved trail that follows the valley of the Don River all the way to Warden Woods Park in Scarborough. That's almost 10 kilometers away. Outside of Edwards Gardens, the largest park in Don Mills is Bond Park. It has extensive baseball facilities like 4 or 5 diamonds, and it's also home to the North York Winter Tennis Club. Okay, now let's go for lunch at
Island Foods.
Island Foods. I knew I was going to forget. So we're here at Island Foods in Don Mills. Now, Don Mills is not known for its fine dining, but we don't like to go to the chain restaurants. This was recommended to us, and funnily enough, when we were ordering our rotis in line, we got the sauce on the top because someone says, you got to get sauce on top. So it comes recommended. He said it was the spot. I tried it. It's actually pretty good. So if you're ever in Don Mills, stop by. Most of the homes in Don Mills were built in the 60s. These houses were built on square lots with long street frontages, which meant that the houses faced the street with their long side, giving them slightly shorter backyards than other neighborhoods in the city. Most of the houses are detached, located on long, winding, pedestrian-friendly streets. Along Don Mills Road, there are several low-rise and high-rise condos with more under construction in the southern part of the neighborhood surrounding the new Crosstown LRT line. So prices. Detached, lately like 1 million to about 3.5, and I've seen up to 5 million in the neighborhood. However, most are between 1.5 and 2.5 million. Semis, older semis could be in the 9 to 1.2 millions, and new builds probably 1.5 to 2 million. Row houses, pretty much the same, 1 million to 2 million, depending on age and condition. And there are condos in the neighborhood as well. One beds, 500 to 700. Two beds, again, depending on age and size. The smaller ones, maybe around 600,000, and somewhat bigger and newer, 900 to 1.2. Though I did see there was a sale that was almost 2 million, but I'd call that an outlier. Anyways, I love doing these videos. Like, share, and if you have questions, send them in. Hope to talk soon.